There's a moment every man remembers. Not when she smiled, not when she stayed, but when she finally walked away. At first he doesn't even notice it. He thinks she'll come back like she always does. He thinks her silence is temporary, her distance just another mood. But this time, it's different. This time, she's not walking away to test him. She's walking away to find herself. And that's when everything changes. Because men don't fall for the woman who chases. They fall for the woman who lets go. The one who doesn't beg, doesn't explain, doesn't try to convince him of her worth. The one who simply says, I love you, but I love myself more. That moment, the quiet exit, the absence, the peace after chaos, becomes louder than any words she ever spoke. And suddenly he starts to remember every detail he ignored. The way she cared, the way she believed in him, the way she stood by him when no one else did. But by then she's already gone. And that's when he realizes, the woman he took for granted was the one he'll never forget. Welcome to a truth most men learn too late. Sometimes letting go is the only way to be remembered. When she finally lets go, something inside him shifts, quietly at first, like a whisper he can't quite hear. He feels the space she used to fill, not in noise or chaos, but in the subtle silence of her absence. No messages, no check-ins, no gentle reminders that she still cares. Just space. And in that space, reality begins to echo. At first he tells himself he's fine, that he needed this distance, that maybe he even wanted it. He convinces himself that freedom is what he was chasing, that he was tired of responsibility, tired of expectations, tired of feeling like he had to be enough. But then when the quiet stretches longer than expected, something begins to ache. It's not loneliness at first, it's awareness. Awareness that the person who once made everything feel effortless is no longer there to soften his edges. He starts to notice things he overlooked. The way her laughter filled the empty spaces in his day. The way her energy grounded him when life spun out of control. The way she always saw the best in him, even when he couldn't see it himself. Now all of that is gone, not out of anger, but out of acceptance. And that acceptance hurts in a way he never expected. Letting go isn't about punishment. It's not about making him miss her or regret what he lost. It's about choosing peace over chaos, self-respect over confusion. She didn't let go because she stopped loving him. She let go because she finally started loving herself enough to stop waiting. And that's what makes it hit deeper. Because men can handle rejection, they can handle arguments, they can even handle breakups. But what they can't handle, what breaks them in silence, is being released by the woman who once held them with everything she had. No drama, no fight, just freedom. That's the emotional impact of letting go. It's not loud, it's not cruel, it's powerful. Because it forces him to see what he lost, not through her words but through her absence. And sometimes silence says everything. It's strange how men often realize the value of love only when it's gone. Not because they didn't care, but because they were never taught to look deeply until loss forces them to. When she was there, loving him, forgiving him, giving him endless chances, he thought it would always be that way. He mistook her consistency for permanence. He thought love meant comfort, not effort. And that's why men realize too late. Because they confuse presence with promise. He never meant to take her for granted. He just didn't notice the weight she carried quietly. The nights she stayed up worrying, the times she smiled while breaking inside, the patience she gave when he was too distracted to see it. To him, her love was oxygen, invisible but essential, and like most people, he only noticed it when he started gasping for air. When she finally walked away, his world didn't collapse all at once. It happened in pieces. The first morning without her text. The silence at night when she wasn't there to say, good night. The realization that no one else would ever love him with that same depth. Not because others couldn't, but because she chose him, flaws and all. And he let that go. That's when regret begins to bloom. Slowly, painfully. He starts to replay the moments he dismissed, the arguments he brushed off, the affection he ignored, the words he never said, the apologies he never made. He wonders if maybe she would have stayed if he had just listened. If he had just appreciated her before she got tired of proving her worth. But by the time a man realizes the woman who loved him most has already transformed. She's no longer the same person who begged to be seen. Her tears turned into lessons, her patience became boundaries, and her love, once a gift freely given, became a memory he can't reclaim. That's the cruel truth. Men often realize the depth of a woman's love only after she's learned to live without them. It's not because they didn't care, but because they assumed she always would. They never believed she could walk away for good. They thought her love was endless. But every woman reaches a moment when she understands that loving him means losing herself, and that's when she finally stops trying. And when she does, it leaves a mark, not just on his heart, but on his soul. Because now, every time he meets someone new, he'll compare them to her, not because he wants to, but because she set the standard he never appreciated. By the time he understands her worth, she's already living the life he could have shared, and that's why men realize too late. There's a kind of power that doesn't need to be loud. And that's the power she discovers when she finally stops explaining herself. Feminine energy isn't about control. It's about centeredness. It's the calm in the middle of chaos. The softness that doesn't beg to be understood. The quiet confidence that says, I know who I am, and that's enough. When she was with him, she gave and gave, not because she was weak, but because she loved from a place of depth. But love, when it's one-sided, drains even the strongest souls. When she walked away, she didn't do it to prove a point. She did it because she was tired of shrinking herself to fit into spaces too small for her spirit. Now, she understands something that only comes through heartbreak. Real feminine power is not about chasing, fixing, or convincing. It's about leaning back into yourself. It's about trusting that what's meant for you won't require you to lose your peace to keep it. Her silence, once filled with tears and longing, has become her language of strength. She no longer needs to explain why she left, why she changed, or why she stopped trying. Her silence is the explanation. It says, I have nothing left to prove. It's the energy that makes him look back and realize that her absence carries more weight than her presence ever did. Because when a woman embodies peace, she becomes magnetic. Not the kind of magnetism that chases attention, but the kind that draws in everything aligned with her worth. Her energy shifts. She smiles differently, moves differently, thinks differently. She starts glowing in ways that don't come from validation, but from clarity. That glow, that calm, that softness, that's feminine power. It's not about domination, it's about mastery of self. It's the energy that heals, attracts, and transforms, effortlessly. And he feels it. Even from a distance, he senses the shift. The energy that once chased now attracts. The woman who once begged for love now receives it without trying. That's what makes feminine energy so powerful. It doesn't demand, it simply is. Her silence becomes his mirror. It reflects every place where he failed to meet her, every word he left unsaid, every part of her he took for granted. But she doesn't use her power to punish. She uses it to rise. Because true feminine energy isn't about proving your strength. It's about returning to your softness, knowing that it was your strength all along. And in that quiet, graceful power, she becomes unforgettable. Attraction is not just chemistry. It's psychology. It's energy, timing, and the emotional patterns buried deep inside every human being. When a woman pulls away with peace instead of anger, something primal awakens in a man. It's not confusion. It's recognition. His mind starts to search for the emotional rhythm he once took for granted. The energy she gave, the warmth, the attention, the belief in him, becomes a void he can't fill elsewhere. You see, attraction begins in comfort but deepens through uncertainty. When she was always there, available, giving, he felt safe, maybe too safe. His subconscious stopped chasing because it already had what it wanted. But when she withdrew, not as a tactic, but as a transformation, it reactivated something ancient in his psychology, the instinct to pursue what he fears he's lost. That's one of the deepest triggers of male attraction. Loss paired with respect. When she walks away without bitterness, she communicates strength. When she doesn't explain, defend, or demand closure, she becomes mysterious again. And mystery is powerful. It draws the masculine mind back to attention. Because now, instead of knowing her completely, he starts to wonder again, where she went, who she's becoming, if she still thinks of him. That wonder creates emotional gravity. But the real trigger isn't about her leaving, it's about how she leaves. If she walks away in chaos, he remembers the fight. If she walks away in peace, he remembers the woman. Her calm detachment rewires his perception. She's no longer the one who needed him. She's the one he now needs to understand. Psychologists call it the contrast effect. When something familiar suddenly becomes distant, the mind amplifies its importance. He starts to romanticize the moments he once dismissed. The small things, her voice, her scent, the way she looked at him when he spoke, replay like a film he can't turn off. His brain begins to associate her absence with emotional imbalance. That's not manipulation. That's human nature. Attraction, in its purest form, is not built through pressure. It's built through polarity. The masculine is drawn to the feminine, not because she chases, but because she radiates. She doesn't force connection. She invites it. Her presence feels safe, but her independence feels electric. And that duality, safety and mystery, is what makes her unforgettable. So when she lets go, she's not losing power. She's stepping into it. Her silence becomes the mirror that shows him what he's missing. And the more he tries to forget, the deeper the memory roots itself. Because the psychology of attraction isn't about how much she gives. It's about what he feels when she finally stops giving. And that's when the real chase begins. There comes a moment when you stop asking, why wasn't I enough? And start realizing that chasing validation was never love. It was fear. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of not being chosen. Fear that without someone else's approval, you somehow lose your worth. But here's the truth. Every time you chase validation, you hand someone else the keys to your peace. And no love is worth that price. Validation feels addictive because it mirrors what we crave most. Acknowledgement. We all want to be seen, appreciated, desired. But when you start needing it more than you need your own self-respect, it becomes a trap. You start bending your boundaries, silencing your truth, pretending to be okay just to keep someone close. That's not connection. That's survival disguised as love. Stop chasing validation. Because the moment you stop, something powerful happens. You start attracting from authenticity, not desperation. You stop performing for attention and start existing in your truth. And the right people feel that. They're drawn not to the version of you that tries, but to the version that is. The irony is that when you stop needing validation, you become magnetic. Because confidence born from self-acceptance radiates differently. You no longer chase love, you choose it. You no longer beg to be seen, you shine regardless. You no longer ask for permission to be enough. You already are. He may have overlooked you when you were giving your all. He may have mistaken your kindness for weakness, your patience for dependence. But when you pull your energy back, when you stop seeking his approval, he starts to fill the void where your attention once lived. And in that silence, he begins to realize that your validation was what made him feel powerful. Without it, he faces his own emptiness. You don't need to prove your worth by trying harder, staying longer, or loving deeper. Real love doesn't need convincing. It meets you halfway. So stop running after half-hearted affection. Stop shrinking to fit into someone's comfort zone. Stop believing that you need to be chosen to be valuable. You are not here to earn love through exhaustion. You are here to receive love through alignment. The moment you stop chasing validation, your energy shifts from fear to freedom. You'll notice peace replacing anxiety, clarity replacing confusion, and strength replacing dependency. That's when you step into your highest self, the version of you that no longer begs to be seen because she finally sees herself. And that's the woman he can't forget, the one who stopped chasing and started rising. Healing isn't a straight path. It's not a checklist or a deadline. It's a journey of falling apart and coming back together, piece by piece, until the brokenness becomes something whole, something stronger than before. When a woman lets go of a love that no longer serves her, she opens space, not just in her heart, but in her life, for growth that's deeper and more lasting than any temporary fix. The first step to healing is acceptance. Accepting that pain is part of the process, that grief, disappointment, and even anger are natural responses to losing someone who once meant everything. It's okay to feel these things, to sit with them, and to give yourself permission to heal at your own pace. There's no shame in tears, no weakness in solitude. In fact, those moments of vulnerability are the soil where strength begins to grow. Next comes self-awareness, understanding the patterns that led to pain. What were the moments you ignored your intuition? When did you compromise your boundaries? Healing asks you to look honestly at your own role without blame or judgment, so you can reclaim your power. It's about learning not to repeat the same mistakes and recognizing your worth beyond anyone else's acceptance. Growth happens when you start to nurture yourself, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. This might mean setting new boundaries with people who drain you, practicing self-care rituals that reconnect you to your body, or seeking support through therapy, friends, or creative outlets. Healing is not isolation, it's connection to yourself and to others who uplift your soul. One of the most powerful tools for growth is forgiveness, not just forgiving the other person, but forgiving yourself. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing what happened. It means releasing the hold that pain and resentment have over your heart. It's choosing peace over bitterness, freedom over anger. When you forgive, you make room for joy and possibility to enter your life again. Healing also means embracing change, understanding that the woman you were before may no longer exist, and that's okay. Growth requires shedding old skins, stepping into new versions of yourself, and trusting that the future holds better than the past. Each step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. Finally, growing stronger means remembering your value is intrinsic. It doesn't depend on being chosen or loved by someone else. It's a light that shines from within, independent of outside circumstances. When you embody this truth, you attract love that matches your worth, not the version of yourself that settled for less. Healing and growth are intertwined. One feeds the other. The woman who learns this doesn't just survive heartbreak, she transforms it. She becomes whole, radiant, and unstoppable. And that woman, the one who rises after the fall, is the woman no man can ever forget. In every man's life, there's one woman he'll never forget. Not because she was perfect, not because everything went right, but because she was real. She gave him a love that was pure. Not the kind that demands, but the kind that nurtures. She saw him before he saw himself. She believed in his potential, stood by him when he doubted, and loved him when he didn't deserve it. And when she finally walked away, it wasn't because she stopped caring. It was because she finally understood that love should never cost her peace. She's the woman who taught him what real connection feels like. The kind that doesn't need noise or games. She was gentle but not weak, patient but not blind, loyal but not lost. And when she left, she didn't leave with bitterness. She left with quiet acceptance. The kind that lingers long after words fade. That's what makes her unforgettable. He'll go on, meet others, build new stories, laugh again, but no matter how far he goes, there will always be something missing. Because what she gave him wasn't attention, it was depth. The way she listened, the way she made him feel seen without judgment, the way her presence felt like home. Those things can't be replicated. They live in the memory of her energy, her essence, her truth. And maybe one day, he'll understand that she wasn't the one who got away. She was the one who grew away. She didn't leave to punish him. She left to heal herself. She didn't close the door out of anger. She closed it out of love for herself and for what they once shared. Because some goodbyes aren't endings. They're acknowledgements that growth sometimes means walking alone. And she'll move on, not with resentment, but with gratitude. She'll love again, but differently. She'll know the signs of her own exhaustion, the boundaries of her heart, the rhythm of her peace. She'll build a life that doesn't revolve around being chosen, but around choosing herself. And in that evolution, she becomes the kind of woman who no longer fits into the version of love she once settled for. That's the woman he'll never forget. Not because she tried to be unforgettable, but because she became something rare. A woman who loved deeply, let go gracefully, and walked away with her dignity intact. He'll remember her in quiet moments, not with regret, but with a kind of ache that reminds him when a woman loves you purely and leaves you peacefully, she leaves an imprint no one else can touch. And that's when he'll finally understand. She wasn't just another chapter, she was the lesson. If you've made it this far, take a breath. Let the silence between these words remind you of something powerful. That endings aren't failures, they're awakenings. What you just watched isn't just a story about love lost. It's a mirror for anyone who has ever given too much, waited too long, or forgotten their own worth while trying to hold on to someone else. Maybe you've been her, the woman who stayed through the storms, who believed that love could fix what effort could not. Maybe you've been him, the one who didn't see what he had until it was gone. Either way, this isn't about blame, it's about growth, because love is meant to elevate you, not empty you. And when you finally choose yourself, the world begins to reflect that decision back to you in ways you never imagined. So if this story spoke to you, don't just leave it here, carry it with you. Let it remind you that peace is not something you beg for, it's something you create. Let it remind you that walking away doesn't mean giving up. It means giving yourself a chance to be whole again. If you're ready to step into that version of yourself, the one who no longer chases, the one who no longer apologizes for her boundaries, the one who understands her value without validation, then this space is for you. Here we talk about growth, healing, and emotional truth, not sugar-coated advice, but real conversations about love, loss, and self-worth. Because the more we understand our patterns, the more power we have to change them. So before you go, do one small thing for yourself. Subscribe not just to this channel, but to your own healing. Hit the like button if this message resonated, and share it with someone who might need this reminder today. Every share, every comment, every story you tell helps another person realize they're not alone in what they're feeling. And in the comments below, tell me, what part of this story hit home for you? What moment made you pause and think about your own journey? Your voice matters here, because healing doesn't happen in silence, it happens in connection. As the music fades, remember this: you don't need to be remembered by someone who didn't value you. You only need to remember yourself, your strength, your peace, your worth. That's the kind of love that never fades. Thank you for being here. Thank you for feeling this, and thank you for choosing yourself, because in the end, that's the story worth telling. The one where you finally become the woman who never needed to be chased to be unforgettable.